Folks, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show here in DeKalb, Georgia, and in Atlanta, and joined today by a beautiful spirit, head of her own modeling agency, and also an inspiring leader of young women around the globe. Pearl Fizame, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Thank you, Mr. Jake Feinberg, for having me.
Can you talk about the first time that, even when you started modeling, did you feel like you started to access your multidimensional being?
Wow. Yeah, I guess in a sense. So I come from a family of 8. My parents are from Haiti. 6 of my siblings were born in Haiti. 2 of us were born in the United States. So when it came to extracurricular activities and a fee was attached to it, we more than likely didn't think we were able to do it. So when I was about 14 years old, I was 5'8", and I was just walking around the mall. And a modeling scout approached me and said, hey, we have a modeling school. We groom models to be great. And I said, okay, I'll take the brochure. But in my mind, I just thought, nah, my parents are not going to do it. So I brought the brochure home to my parents, and surprisingly, they actually had a meeting and sat down saying that we want this for you. We want you to take these modeling classes, not to be a model, but to refine you as a lady. So it did transform me because when you walk on the runway, you're forced to do self-analysis on how you're carrying yourself. We were taught to put on makeup. So it did do a little something to me, but I didn't see myself as a model still at that time.
When you actually got into the modeling itself, what was the most disappointing thing that you found? A lot of what you're dedicated to today is sort of reevaluating what modeling should be in this century. So what was the most disheartening thing for you? Your parents wanted you to get in and refine your...
Right. Well, the disheartening thing is when it comes to weight and body type. So when I graduated from the course, we went to see several agencies and no one picked me. And I was like, all right, guess you're right. I'm not a model. So then as I got older and I began to lose weight and I went to these different agencies, it was a weight issue, or we already have a girl that looks like you on our board and we can have only a couple of multi-ethnic girls, or we only need a couple of multi-ethnic girls. So
this is stuff they would actually directly say.
Well, they would say we already have your face, on the board, but you would look back and say, okay, typically with agencies, you're a product, so they don't want to have multiple people looking the same. But when you go on the other side, you see multiple green eyes, you see multiple blue eyes, you see multiple blonde, you see all of this. But when it comes to, our sector, they typically want just, a few on the board, because when it comes to a grander scheme of things and diversity, we don't have a lot of channels when it comes to our beauty being projected. So why have that many on the board if clients are not looking for that?
So but you kept persevering though.
I kept persevering because I believe it's my calling, because I never saw myself as a model. Even finally today, I'm like, I am a model, but it was always a tool that I used because I always wanted to travel the world. So I used modeling to travel, but I was never the type that was stuck on my beauty. And that's what I teach these girls here. I say, don't come in here just thinking because you have a beautiful face that the world is going to be handed to you. You need to have substance. So my program, we have modeling, leadership, and entrepreneurship, because I also found that these models, they didn't have necessarily, some of them didn't have a business acumen. So then we're here hustling, just trying to survive off of one job every 2 or 3 months. Now we're putting ourselves in crazy situations, So I'm trying to teach these girls, all of us have something special that we can create and monetize to traverse through this world. What is that? And you need to embrace that, and you need to learn how to create that into a business and monetize it. Because as a model, you're not going to be getting jobs every week. Not the typical model. The typical model may get a job every, 2 months or so.
But that's what I wanted to ask you about. Is you talk to them realistically about it being a part of your career, a part of their career, or the fact that they can they do it full time if they're a typical model?
Yeah, so if you're in a New York market, you have catalog models that literally wake up and they just go and take pictures, for catalog. But that's just like a regular job. You're making $35,000, $40,000 a year. Now, if you get a big contract, let's say Old Navy or
Right.
then you're getting a $40,000 check in that one, single deal that you're doing for them to use your face as their promotion. So it just depends on what type of model you are and what market you are in. Atlanta is not a modeling city. So you're not going to have a model that's going to wake up every morning to do catalog work or be able to get a regular paycheck. You may have some runway shows every now and then and some print ads that you can get on. But New York, Paris, those places are where fashion capitals are, where, models can really work and get jobs.
Pearl, what was your break in modeling? When did someone finally say, we want you?
Yeah, so after I graduated from college, let me step back a little bit.
Sure.
Music is my first love. So when I got to college, I started rapping, and I thought I was going to become a rap star. So I just said...
I love it.
So
she's going to be rapping later in the program.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just kind of blocked everything out, and I said, I'm going to focus on music. And it didn't pan out. So when I graduated from college and went back to Miami, I ended up signing with an agency called Ethnicity, and I started doing music videos. I didn't feel like that was the best fit for me, but when I tried to go to the other agencies, I couldn't get. So I said, let me start here. And I was marketing myself on the internet as a rapper, and a photographer for Ebony magazine saw me, and he said, why aren't you modeling? And I said, I tried. They say, this, that. And he was like, I think Ebony would love you just the way you are. So he sent my pictures to Ebony, and they flew me for an audition. And I did the audition, and they asked me if I could start the next day. And I was like, I ain't doing ish in Miami. Yes, I can start the next day. So Ebony magazine is was one of the most prominent magazines that gave the African American a voice in America. So we did a 200-city tour, and you traveled to the United States, Canada, and Caribbean. And the reason why the Ebony Fashion Fair tour was created was to give Black models an outlet to model couture and all those different things. So it's a legacy of Black models. Judy Pace, which became a Hollywood star, she was an Ebony Fashion Fair model. Richard, forgive me. I need to know my history better, but we have several people that have...
But the lineage of African American modeling, wow, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm. So that's what I come from. So that's when I got my first big break.
At that point, was it something that you decided when did you decide you wanted to pass along the wisdom? You talk about monetization. Most women are going to think, I got to sell my body.
Right.
But
right.
Are there other aspects? Can you break down those aspects for people?
Yes, absolutely. So when did I decide to transition over? So when I was modeling, I met a gentleman that graduated from Harvard. And he told me, he was like, you're really smart. And I was 24 at the time.
Wait, for coming from Harvard, what a great compliment.
I was 24 at the time, and he said, if you're not a supermodel by now, you should probably reposition yourself for something else. You should get an MBA, and I can see you be in the face of a company and doing presentations to close deals and so forth. So we fought for a year because I've always been the type, I wanted to be free spirit and travel the world. So we fought for a year, and finally I gave in, and I came to Atlanta to pursue an MBA. After I got my MBA, I went to work for a corporation in their real estate division. While there, I just felt a tug to come back to the community. So I left my corporate job in 2011, and I came back to Atlanta with the intention to do music. I released a mixtape. Not much was happening, but girls were coming up to me saying, weren't you the girl that modeled for Ebony? Could you teach me how to model? And Jake, my mindset was like, no, I don't want to model. I'm done with that chapter in my life. But the universe, you have to listen to the universe sometimes. You may think one thing, and then the universe is just bringing you all
People were recognizing you off those magazine shots.
Yeah, off of the magazines. And I would do like community work and just speak to girls. And then the mom would come up and say, oh my gosh, you're so poised, or you have confidence. Could you teach my daughter this confidence?
You're just hip-hopping on the streets hoping someone would recognize you.
Yeah, and it wasn't happening. So long story short, I had to start paying attention to what people were asking me for. So I started teaching girls how to model out of my home. So that's when I decided to pass the wisdom on. And then shortly after, the university that I got my degree from hired me as a professor. The dean met me, and she was impressed with me, and she said, would you ever consider teaching?
Unbelievable. I mean, just falling into your lap.
Just fought divine. And she said, I want you to teach leadership. So I ended up teaching leadership, and I took the curriculum that I had on the collegiate level, teaching leadership, and I married it with the modeling curriculum so that we can build girls that are leaders.
This is so important because the 4 L's on my program are leadership, love, life, which is overcoming adversity, and the lineage of all musics. So can you talk about what are the most important qualities of leadership in your mind? And are there ways to express leadership non-verbally that you do, especially in a modeling situation? I mean, on the bandstand, a lot of the time, a lot of cats, I mean, people know Miles and people like that would not say much of anything. They turn their back on guys because they just wanted them to be themselves. Other cats might hold up a 1 or a 2 if they were merging songs, but it was nonverbal, and we live in a very verbal society now. So talk about your concept of leadership and sort of the nuanced qualities of leadership that have been most effective for Pearl.
Authenticity is the number one thing for leadership, because if you don't know who you are, or if you don't know where you're going, how you're going to lead someone else.
There's a lot of people in leadership positions that are like that,
yeah,
though, right?
Yeah, and you can learn on the job. So, I was learning on the job, But
I mean, you got a faculty position. You didn't know what was going on.
I didn't know what was going on, and I was transparent about it. And they were like, "But you can do this." I was like, "Okay." So, authenticity. You have to know where you're going. You have to be true to yourself. I think a leader needs to spend time listening to themselves, so that they know where they're going. They have to be connected to something. I'm connected to my intuition. A leader has to be connected to something to give them direction. A true leader has to love what they do, because when it comes to those long hours or whatever it may be, or leading people, you have to love what it is that you do. Otherwise, you're going to hurt people, because when you're a leader, you're responsible for people, and your actions affect other people. So I would say authenticity.
Well, explain, how did you how did you trust your intuition after a while?
I've always been that way. I'm a child of the, I don't know what they call them, I don't know. When I was little, I was a stargazer. Like, I would touch my sister that was 3 years older than me, and I say, "There's something else out there. What do you think is it?" She's like, "Girl, just be quiet."
Yeah, right.
And then I would close in because I couldn't find a lot of people that I could connect with, but I was always like that. So, there was a time where I lost it a bit because I started getting into the world a bit. And then I had to come back to it. And that's where I'm at peace most, when I'm guided by my tuition, not by man.
I dig. I mean, when did you connect with the divine or the source? I mean, I guess more to the point, not your sister blowing you off and like being like you're just kind of in your own world, but like when did you know inside that was completely legitimate? You talk about authenticity.
That's a good question. Yeah. I guess I always knew. I always knew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't you always know? And you try to find it, and you try to stay connected to it. But people say, but then there's something deep inside you to say, no, it's something, So I think I've always known, but I jump in and out, and now I'm just there.
When you walked away from the corporate world, that was something that your intuition...
Intuition did that. I wouldn't leave a 6-figure job. I was making more money than anybody in my family, and I was still under 30.
6 figures, and you decided to walk away.
Yeah.
This is really important. I mean, was it just you had no creative freedom? It was a
good job. It was a great job. I was working with the CEO because I was in the real estate division, and I was working with the regional vice presidents. They loved me. They were, because of, I don't know, like they had to, put certain people up the pipeline, and because I wasn't scared, and, they were like, okay, we want to, right, put her in the pipeline of leadership. But the company that I worked for, the leader would have all of these different quotes on the wall, like, very inspiring quotes. And I said, that's who I am. I'm the, this. So I would just get tugged in my spirit, and I'm like, what is it that I'm supposed to do next? I don't know. And I felt like I had to die and
rebirth and regeneration.
Regeneration.
This is insane. This is a rebirthing.
Yeah.
And explain, what was the drive? I mean, that's because most people would say you're totally comfortable.
Mm-hmm. I was.
But you were not at peace.
I was not at peace. So thing kept tugging at me, and I mean, the drive was to listen to the intuition. It was something there, and I'm on a journey, so I don't want to stay stagnant in a place for a long time. You know, that's a little boring for me. So I like, okay, where do you want us to go? Where are we going? So I listen.
Where is an area that you are still trying to refine and grow in as a leader? I mean, so much. I think the word you used before was fearless. I mean, you know, there's a sort of a quality of I can do this even if I don't really know what it is I'm supposed to be doing. But where do you?
I wouldn't call it fearless. I would call it bravery. Because there's still fear, a little bit of fear in everything, you know, like.
Absolutely.
But you push through the fear.
Right.
So it's.
And you become stronger because of that.
You become strong and you trust more when you start seeing things, you know, unfold based on your intuition. I wanted to mention one thing. When I said I rebirthed myself, the reason why I said that is because I was listening to man the whole time. And man brought me to this position. And I'm like, okay, I'm here. I got 6 figures. And it was all based on man telling me boom, 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 boom. And I was like, I want to do it my way. I feel like the universe is giving me a second chance. I'm still young. I did everything right somewhat. I want to do it my way. So that's when I rebirthed myself. I left and I just said, even if I have to sleep in my car, whatever. You get what I'm saying? I want to do it my way. So
I dig. No, I mean, what can you talk about how your parents, I mean, they obviously love you, but I mean, did they always look at you, and have they accepted some of your decisions based on just pure spirit and intuition? Or, I mean, and when did you let go of the idea that you can't please them all the time?
Got you. So my parents weren't really that bad. It was really like, you know, mentors and villagers, you know. But my mom always wanted me to be a teacher or a nurse. But my mom was never like very hard on me. Some things she wouldn't agree with, but you know, I would do them. And then my dad, he's more adventurous. So I'm more like my dad, and my mom is more conservative. So they weren't really, you know, really. My mom didn't want me to do music, you know, but they didn't really too badly affect me. But at the same time, they didn't super support me, you know, like in terms of like, you know, pushing me. But they were always there, you know.
What was the biggest hurdle for you on the music side? I mean, everything seems to sort of fall into your lap. So I'm just surprised.
I don't think I did the work.
What does that mean?
Meaning, like, when I built this school, everything that's a part of the school is my